episode of Madge Unmuted. I am your hostess, with disheveled hair, Madge. And as with me as always, or whatever, we have...
I'm whatever? Okay, fine.
Yeah, you are. Whatever. We're just going to be short because I want to get to my guests anyway.
That's fine.
Hey, Scotty Fitzy, Scott Fitzgerald, our producer here at RuPaul Studios.
Hi.
For all your recording needs.
Thank you.
You are more than welcome. Look him up, rockfox.com. I'm going to get right to our guest. Is that okay?
Guest. Go for it.
I am so excited. Oh, my God. Okay. My guest today is internationally known drag queen, best known to some others. We've known her for a while, how fabulous she is. Dear sweet Jesus, I can't talk today.
You're so like overwhelmed.
I am.
Yes.
I am not even going to kid you. I'm like fangirling all over the place. Okay, but she's possibly best known for competing in season 7 of RuPaul's Drag Race. Please welcome Mrs. Kasha Davis and the lovely Mr. Davis.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome. I am just so flustered to have you here. So happy.
My God. We are so delighted to be here. And you know what? You are the first to invite myself and Mr. Davis on a podcast or, something like this. So I'm excited that we're here together.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
first podcast.
I am because I've seen you in many, of your own YouTube channel and on podcasts, and I just love you, Mr. Davis, as you're her best accessory. Wait, I shouldn't say accessory. You're a great team.
Well, you know what? We are a team. And honestly, since the beginning, it's been all about teamwork because I wouldn't have started doing drag if it wasn't for, our trip to P-Town together, Provincetown. Mm-hmm. And, we talked about it and it was like we thought about the whole thing back on the ride home together. So,
That is so...
Well, and I don't even know how to use all this technology. I wouldn't know what the hell to do. So if it wasn't for Mr. Davis, nothing would go on. I would be still just dancing around in the basement alone.
It's a collaboration from day one.
That's awesome. And how long ago was that, if you don't mind me asking?
16 years ago, I think. 16 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Now, were you living here or were you living elsewhere?
No, we were living in Rochester, but we were in the Culver Merchants area
Oh,
of
that's
the
where
city.
I live.
All right. Isn't it great?
It is.
Yes.
I love it.
Netson's ice cream.
I'm so sad that James Brown's is closing. But, it was a little too rich for my veins anyway.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, and also it's unfortunate so many different businesses are struggling because of COVID, so.
Absolutely. Which I'll get back to that, ask you how you're doing with, you have such a performance-oriented career and how you're doing in COVID when everything is shut down.
Right.
So, but let me back up the truck a minute here. I heard your backstory on Curiously George's podcast.
Right.
Another Rock Fox Studios podcast. Shout out to George. You owe me one now. But anyway, I heard you on that and this is really dorky of me. It really moved me. It absolutely moved me to tears for a couple of reasons. One, parts of it, my heart broke for you, but 2, I was so overjoyed for you. And the other part is my life is similar, not anywhere near as, I'm with the complexities, I should say, but I've had to struggle with being myself my whole life.
Right.
So I just listened to that and I was so moved. So I don't know if you could, give us the abridged version of that. I don't know how one can do that, but.
I'm not, so I guess I would say that the most important message that I'd like to communicate as Mrs. Kasha Davis and as Mr. and Mrs. Davis is celebrating your most genuine self. And I don't care if it's, no matter what path we're on, no matter our age, our gender, sexuality, however we identify, so many of us can relate to that path. And so that's where I'm glad that, the story, my life story would resonate with you and you're not a drag queen, you know.
I'm not a gay man.
You're not a gay man, you know. So, but yet, so many of us can share some similar stories, and so I think it's important to share those stories. And essentially, the gist of of my story is that path to loving yourself.
Absolutely.
And the flaws, the things that.
Oh, girl.
Yeah. You know, I'm very open about the fact that I'm an alcoholic. And that was something that I realized I needed to address in my life. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important to share those things so that people can say, wow, this is someone who can still have fun and be sober and different things to that effect.
Yes, absolutely. That was me. Like you said, of course, I'm just a 55-year-old woman that raised her kids mostly on her own. 3 of them, my ex-husband kind of vanished for a while, and I got all 3 of them in and almost done with college. So, but I had, when he left, there was, evictions and food stamps, and I got a college degree.
Right.
But, the struggle is real when you have kids. I'm not going to go on about me, but I've been a performer since day one, and I've had that squashed down by, my parents. I've told the story before. When I was going to go to college, my father, I'm the youngest of 5 overachievers ahead of me.
Right.
And he said, what do you want to go to college for? And I said, I'd like to go for theater. And he said, I'm not going to pay for you to go to college to become a waitress. And I just never forgot that. And it was like, get a real job, do something real. And, I've tried to, since I was 4, I had an alter ego called Peggy Starlight.
Ooh, I love her.
Thank you. And my siblings still talk about it. And it's like, well, Jesus Christ, if I was Peggy Starlight at 4, what do you think I was supposed to be?
Well,
Are you surprised?
I'm already inspired by your story, by what you just shared. I had not heard that before. The only thing I would take out of your story in listening to it is the word just. You said of yourself, I was just XYZ, a mom, you're fantastic. I mean, how many people can say, well, honestly, you're here doing something that you love. I
feel like I'm in therapy.
I don't know. I think it's important to share that because I have done the same thing, where I almost am putting myself down for following what I love and what I've done so far. And so many of us listening, I'm sure, can relate to that. Absolutely.
Oh, my God. Yes. So, I need to work on that, the saying, I'm just this. But, I was raised Irish Catholic and everything is, you're awful, you're terrible, you're going to hell, don't ever think you're anything good. And it's something I've been working through. We're all still that endless work in progress.
Yeah.
So
same here. And that's where, I remember as a little boy, girl, gal, girl, boy, fella, being told that I couldn't follow my dreams and that they weren't realistic. Or that there were no examples of the relationship that I have right here with Mr. Davis. Mm-hmm. So and that is something that he and I share in terms of our story of saying, oh my gosh, we can't be who we are because, no one else is. Right.
And I have to tell you, I just saw your Thanksgiving YouTube with your daughters and your new soon-to-be son-in-law. That just warmed my heart because that's relationship goals right there. Because I'm a love is love gal, and I love everybody, and as everybody shares love, fucking awesome for you.
Right.
Sorry. So that just warmed my heart, and you mentioned what's the new son-in-law? Adam. And he is just totally good with everything and feels.
Yep. I mean, it's not without a lot of questions and answers, He comes from a real small town and it was all new to him when he met Jessica, but he's come along and he's great, and this was his first time on camera, so.
Oh,
and
really?
He did pretty well.
Oh, he did swimmingly.
Yeah. He's definitely an outgoing, he's a salesman as part of his job. And he's very outgoing, but again, not very far from Scranton, Pennsylvania, where I grew up. He's from the area of Binghamton.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And,
Scranton, home of Joe Biden.
Scranton, home of Joe Biden. Exactly. And so he's from the Binghamton area, and it was a very Trump,
Country.
I could say, I would like to use the word infected area. I'm not exactly sure what the right word is, but
As long as you didn't say infested.
yeah. And so the long and short is that, I think he opening his eyes to so many different things. And I'm so proud of him for that. Because he didn't, he didn't have to change anything about himself. And he certainly is not, like Steve is saying, not without question, but he's learning and he's opening his mind and he's clearly in love with her. And that's what makes us the happiest.
Oh, that's so wonderful. And now you just said something that made me wanted to ask another question. Pronouns. So as your birth name, I don't know what you call Stephen.
Yep.
Did you say?
Stephen.
Ed.
Ed, yeah.
Did anybody ever ask you if you've related to the pocket fisherman guy?
The inventor or whatever? Yes.
Ron
I've got Ron Popeil. Are you related to Ron Popeil?
Exactly.
Did you know there was a TV show called Mr. Ed?
Oh no!
Yeah, I've gotten that.
Seriously?
Yeah, and certainly when in my dance career, I was Mr. Ed to the students, and they knew that television show. And then my family calls me Eddie. So I have a lot of boy names, and my pronoun is he, him. And we were actually talking about this on our walk with our dog this morning because I was watching social media and I was watching a video about non-binary identification. And I thought in some ways, because of the path that I'm on, I'm beginning to look at some of the things, like, for instance, my toenails are always painted as Ed and as Mrs. Kasha Davis. And there are things that I identify in myself that are masculine and things that are feminine. So,
I love that.
we're learning, know, and I think our generation or our age group, we're still in the process of learning. And what I have found is that it's okay to ask what pronouns we use, but it's also okay to just simply ask the question that I don't know, like our son-in-law asking,
Yeah. But when you are Mrs. Kasha Davis, you are she, correct?
Yes.
Or okay. And do you get upset about that if somebody
No.
wants to call you he while you're Mrs. Kasha? Or?
No, because I identify I identify in life as he, him, and I am a drag queen. So I'm putting on this character, but this character is becoming more closer to Ed than it ever has been before. So
Really?
That's where I'm starting to think, my goodness, I'm not. I have to back up from the microphone. I'm not, hello, darlings, all the time, So I'm not always that. I'm telling more before we started recording, I'm telling more of the truth. And so I'm realizing that it's closer to home and whatever home that is, it's all me.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I just can't stop smiling because I just identify so much. Because I've had so many different, I'm a Gemini, so I have all kinds of different parts of my personality. And, there's the soccer mom that I was, my kids went to Mercy McQuaid, I was the good. And, but then I'm, I've been a punk kid, punk new wave. I've been, Ethel Merman in my head.
I love that.
There's no.
Yeah.
And so, I feel like a guy sometimes, I just want to. So I just can't stop smiling because I'm trying to blend all those together. And I don't know if you've ever had this. I've had people trying to find, your tribe or whatever,
Right.
people that get you. And you'll have people that'll come in and they'll be, oh, yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, you be yourself. You're good. But then they'll make snide remarks at some things, it's like, well, I can tell like you're saying that, but you're not really getting it.
Right.
So does that bother you, or are you just kind of like, I'll take their baby steps or whatever?
Well, certainly things that other people say have bothered me in my life. It bothers me less now the more I learn that it's more about them.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And it's less about me wanting to get others' approval. And that's certainly not perfect. This one's probably giggling inside because this one said this on Instagram. I'll focus on one negative comment, you know, and there'll be 40 positive comments.
Guilty.
But I'm like, what's that? You know, that is someone's opinion, and that's okay.
Exactly.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a tough one. I found that because like someone will be, oh, yes, no, I love the way you are. And then we'll be out and I'll be joking and laughing. And they'll be like, can you not be so obnoxious? No, sorry. That's what I do. Get fucking used to it.
Yeah. I mean, we have one life as far as we know. We have to be ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is the goal. And when there's someone who is so blatantly themselves, like yourself, myself, and we're celebrating that, it might make people question, but it's also inspiring many other people.
Oh, well, yeah, I hope so.
To have the bravery to say, hey, I'm going to, you know, do whatever or act a certain way or be who they are.
Yeah.
And I think those are the reasons why we're compelled to have a podcast and to dress and drag and to, you know, part of it is our ego, but it's also, you know, I believe, for me at least, that I can say that it's a goal to help others and to share stories so that they can be inspired to be themselves too.
I hope so, because and another thing, listening to the podcast with George, that you both had been married before.
Correct.
To the opposites.
Right, to women.
To women.
That's okay.
We're not a bad thing.
Of course not.
No, I'm kidding. How was that such a struggle to realize you were doing something it might not have been your ultimate thing, or I don't know how to word that. Sorry, I'm fumbling here. Or was it easy to realize, oh, this isn't what I want to do, or was it a real struggle?
You can go first.
I think, you know, it was a different time, and I feel that sexuality is fluid throughout your years, and I wasn't aware that being gay was an option for me, so I just made sure I was going to be straight, you know. And I cared for my ex-wife. I was in love with her, but after a while, as I evolved, I started having feelings, and so it was like, okay, I think it's time to address these and come out of the closet. And that's what I did, you know, and that was probably the most difficult thing I've ever done.
Mm-hmm. Really? And may I ask, how was it received?
Well, it was initially, I think she was really, she handled it really well. It was shock, though, I think. And then there became some anger. And then eventually I left the house to just put some distance between us. And it was tough because we had 2 small children. Mm-hmm. So, but she's moved past that and we've become still friendly. We have, you know, holidays together, birthdays together. So.
And I mean, that just sounds like any sort of breakup that you go through those. I mean, certainly you had an added thing to it, but yeah, I mean, that's how breakups are. There's hurt, there's anger, there's whatever. I mean, I went through it with my ex-husband. And so that's Kasha, did you? Oh, I didn't mean to
No,
catch
it's
you
okay.
right in the middle of
I don't know.
dabbing.
Something was happening.
Did you have a similar experience? Or was
So
it different?
I knew that I was different and or loved everyone from the moment I could remember. And then I began to find that I had an attraction to men. And I realized that's wrong. And so I was told at a very early age that I was very feminine. And I was told by my father and grandfather initially, the first people to call me a fairy. And so what I did was I suppressed that. And I was told it was wrong, it was bad, it was bad. And so I asked every girl out that possibly would ever, and they all said no, we're just friends, until finally one said yes, and then I began to fall in love with her. And so much like what Steve is saying, Mr. Davis, is that certainly I started to think, oh, I guess I'm bisexual. I guess that I'm not repulsed by a female whatsoever. Of course, frankly, women were always my best friends, and I started to fall in love with this best friend. And so we had a very good relationship and for a portion of it. And then we began to grow and realize that we were not being true to ourselves. And, she was not satisfied. I was not satisfied. And we were also married at 20 and 21.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Well, that's a recipe for.
Yeah. And so, that was that path. But certainly I was trying to please everybody else. And there was this whole side of me that was a secret. And whether it was in restrooms at the mall or back alleys in the downtown area of Scranton, I was, exploring my sexuality that way. And that just made it even worse because it was like, part that sounds fun, but it's also, I was hiding. I was
exactly.
dirty.
It feels dirty, feels bad.
Yeah. And then I thought to myself, how can I ever, all I want is to have children and have a family and, have that house and have that Christmas tree, but I can't have that because I have to be in the back alley to feel good about myself, to feel, satisfied.
Right.
So complete. Yeah.
And that's part of when I was listening to that podcast that just broke my heart. But that's just because that's just me. But with that, I have so many friends in the community. Like I said, I'm always at Avenue Pub. Shout out to Avenue Pub. And I have heard so many stories that are similar. That men that were, and that's why I know people that don't understand gender and orientation. They're just like, oh, you're like you said, calling names,
right?
And there's such a spectrum, as who was it, Kinsey kind of pointed out. And I have so many friends that were either trying to pretend, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be hetero, so I'm going to marry a woman and suppress these things. Or there's people that I don't know if I feel that way. I never thought about it. Now it's new, And then there's, I have friends from day one that were like, I'm gay,
Yeah.
And the ones though that break my heart, I've heard this so many times, the stories that the men had gotten married and had children, and the women did not take it well at all, and they turned the children, or the children just turned against them naturally, and they don't speak to them anymore.
Well, I think it's...
that's totally not, those are just isolated things, but I've heard those stories and it breaks my heart.
Certainly. There's so many different stories like that. And I will say how I can relate is that my ex-wife and I, in our divorce process, it was pointing the finger of blame at one another. And we stopped talking completely. And unfortunately, she's recently passed. So we never really got to reconcile. Mm-hmm. And I never really got to speak with her family either. There was a lot of love there, but then it really switched to hate. But there was also, in those processes when you're trying to hide yourself and your true self, there can be other factors such as you're not, maybe there's alcohol and drug use. Maybe there's, because you're trying to feel good about yourself.
Yes. Maybe
you're not being the best parent. Maybe you're not being the best, spouse. Maybe you're not being. So looking at those things, there can be time, I believe, at least in my experience, that I can look back and say, well, my side of the street wasn't so clean either.
Right. There are three sides to every story. Right. I forget. I was married to a mean alcoholic, and then he left and found somebody else. But I always will still say, well, I probably wasn't any, bowl of peaches or whatever.
Yeah.
I wasn't any bed of roses either, trying to raise three little kids. And,
right.
So, but yeah, that's something to think about. But you know what? We'll just we'll love them instead.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that, I believe that this morning, another thing that came up, Stephen, can you remember the quote? I know I tweeted it, but it was, I'm going to find it because it was really good.
Yeah, it was, if it was your last day on earth, who would you call? What would you tell them? Why aren't you doing it now? Something like that.
Yeah. And so if you were going to die soon and had only one phone call you can make, who would you call? And what would you say? Why are you waiting? Stephen Levine. And I thought that was amazing because, so those relationships might have been whatever they were, but that doesn't mean there can't be, some sort of reconciliation or, apologies or forgiveness. And that's because we all mess up.
Exactly. I mean, that's one. By the way, can my call be a Zoom meeting? I got a lot of people.
Yeah.
That is something I taught my kids with. I told you my situation, and their dad went incommunicado for several years. We honestly, and this was after the divorce. Kids were like in middle school and high school, and we did not know if he was dead or alive. And, he was having a mental health struggle, and he disappeared. And then he started to reappear with, he had moved across the country, and he'd started sending the kids texts, and they were freaking out like it was seeing a ghost. And I kept talking them through it. He was trying to come back little by little, and I just kept talking them through it. Like, it's okay. You feel what you're feeling. I know you're mad, but you love them and miss them terribly. And I just kept having them feel what they were going to feel. And eventually, a few years later, now he's back in their life, and they have great relationships now. And I commend him for, trying to do, no matter what he did to me, that's like ancient, that's like 19 years ago now. But I believe what you're saying in that it's never too late to, make amends or reconcile or talk things over.
Yeah. I mean, even if you don't speak to the person, you can write a letter and burn it. Just get it off your chest, if the person isn't alive or if it's going to cause harm.
Right. And I just thought it was a good, I think my kids needed I don't know, closure is the right word, but they needed to learn about forgiveness. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just think that was.
Yeah, on what would have been our 20th anniversary, because we lasted 8 years when we divorced, I wrote my ex-wife a text and I said, this is how I feel. I married you for the right reasons. I never thought I would leave. It was going to be the secret I took to the grave, but that didn't happen. And I want you to feel confident that I just didn't use you to get kids, which I know she didn't think that, but that was in the back of her mind,
Sure.
So,
sure.
I wanted to do that on a Hallmark, time frame, so that our 20th, what would have been our 20th anniversary. And I think that really started the mending that we needed as a family to come together.
Yeah. Did you do it on some lovely parchment paper?
Well, it was a text on cell phone. So.
Exactly. Mr. Davis is into Hallmark lately. I think, no.
'Tis the season.
'Tis the season. Well, it's interesting, though, as he's sharing that story of his ex-wife, she and I have become friends, and that was not the case at the beginning. Understandably so, but it did last a little longer than I would have liked. But we finally started to see each other's point of view and value and listen more to each other. And recently we went, wedding dress shopping together with our daughter. Who's, and so that was just amazing. And she kept saying over and over, "I'm so glad you're here," which she didn't have to say that.
Exactly. So she's like, bitch, bye.
Exactly. So that was very special. And these are moments that I get to share with Steve and Deb. And because they are my stepchildren, but they have a wonderful dad and a wonderful mom, and I'm an additional parent. And so, those are dream moments for me that I get to have, in conjunction with their life, which has been such a gift.
Yeah. Oh, That's so wonderful. Oh my God, we've gotten so deep and heavy here today.
Well, yeah.
But
Well,
it's
listen,
good.
Listen, we've torn each other apart too. Let me share that. You know, those are the wonderful things. But she and I can fight.
What you do on your own time, I don't want to know.
Yeah, we've had those moments too, which is, I think, again, part of the process of getting to know each other and then the situation we were in. So
Sure. Do you find it? So are you a team as far as your career? I mean, do you work together and everything or all the time? Or
absolutely.
and how's that work?
I'll tell
How's
you,
that go?
you know, and again, it's interesting. All the different things we're talking about today, we talked about it on our walk with our dog. It's like we rehearsed.
Premonition.
Max must be the psychic that brought us together. No, I will say that, well, for instance, right now in COVID, we have just recently been nominated for Best YouTube Channel by World of Wonder, which is the parent company for RuPaul's Drag Race. And, we're amongst other
so
individuals.
excited.
Thank you. Other individuals who have, millions of followers. So we're very, honored to be nominated, but the likelihood of winning, we'll see. But the reality, exactly.
No, I know.
There I am saying just
Yep.
this many. But we have accomplished that because of the time in COVID where we've actually been putting out 3 different videos a week to go to our YouTube channel. And 3
4.
different separate types of
Right, that's what I was going to say. So you have the Monday. I'm sorry. What's
Mondays with MKD.
Mondays with MKD?
A
Okay.
reverse makeup tutorial.
Yes, I love that one.
Thank you. And that one just stemmed from the fact that I know I'm not a great makeup artist, and a lot of the drag queens out in the world do. I do what I do, and I'm happy with it.
I think you look fabulous.
Well, thank you. But
Much better
and
than
so,
mine.
No. I wore red hair for you today.
Thank you.
And I thought, well, what if I removed the makeup and, spoke from my heart? And what I do every morning is I sort of have I would call it a meditation in a way, but it's just a quiet time with Steve and our dog and coffee, and I do some readings, and I kind of get my head straight as to like, what's this day going to be about? And I'm sharing some of those thoughts, and I just literally on Monday mornings write them down. So we record the makeup removal, and then I just regurgitate what's coming on.
I love
It's
that.
not planned, is my point. Mm-hmm. And then we do our Life with the Davises, which we're very proud of. We've been doing for years. We brought that back, and then of course story time.
Mm-hmm. So, listeners and viewers, you need to check out the name of your YouTube channel. Is it just Mrs. Kasha Davis, or is it the Davises, or?
It's Mrs. Kasha Davis.
Yeah,
right?
if you Google or go on YouTube and search Mrs. Kasha Davis, you'll find it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't stress enough, go and do that, because whatever theme one, I don't know, I can't think of the word. Oh my God, I'm just whatever the morning. Why do I want to keep saying morning? Jesus
Well, because
Christ.
it's in the morning. So it's Mondays with MKD.
Mondays with MKD. Mondays with MKD. Storytime and Life with the Davises. Whichever one you choose, you cannot. Whatever resonates with you, you can't go wrong. Highly entertaining. And you just said something that I was going to comment on about your makeup. For one, I'll just add to what I was going to say, that is a wonderful metaphor, the taking off the makeup and stripping down your ego as well, I
Right.
guess. I just love that whole scenario. But talking about the drag queen makeup, okay, I have a little problem with drag queens because, we've had to have the backseat to men for so long, and God damn it, if you don't even go and look better at being women than us, we
it's
can't even have that.
First of all, you look fantastic. We've already talked about your fabulous dress.
Thank you.
And
my
the boots. There are those the boots. And the fishnets.
You're not
No.
going to see anything, Scotty, except Spanx, so don't worry about it.
It's an exaggerated form. It's in my case, it's a celebration of my mother and my grandmother, and it's an exaggeration, obviously. And so it's always fascinating to have any kind of a transformation, right? Mm-hmm. We all like to Google like whatever kind of transformations, and hair and makeup are fun. And,
Mm-hmm.
so women get to do that on a daily, and if they choose.
Sure,
And
right.
it is amazing, the different types of transformation. And so no one would ever walk around with the amount of makeup I have on, or duct tape, or
You'd be surprised.
or padding, So, but it's,
No, I know. I've always, I don't know if this is weird, but I've always wanted to be a drag queen. I think that would be fun to be exaggerated and dress up and lip sync.
Yeah,
So
let's do
if
it.
it's just pretending, why can't I be a drag queen?
You can. You can. You certainly can. There are, as termed bio queens, so females dressing in drag as an exaggerated form or character in their gender. Or their chosen gender. Some are become drag kings, etc. But if you think about Tina Turner, Cher, Dolly Parton, you can't tell me that's not drag.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely.
Each one of them are wearing wigs, makeup, and Bob Mackie. So,
I did have a catastrophic fail one time as a Halloween costume probably 10 years ago. I tried to be it's like a Victor Victoria, a woman trying to be a man, trying to be a woman, as Cher. And I had, exaggerated music. Jesus Christ, exaggerated makeup and a long wig and whatever. And people were like, oh, what are you, a witch?
right. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah. Yeah. So, but I would love to get all dolled up and,
Well,
and do that thing.
We were starting to do something where we were going to do at the Brainery, Rochester Brainery. We were, and we will at some point, offer a course where anyone can come and get into drag. And so, because many people ask, and part of it would be makeup tips for everyday life, but then also, how do you turn that into drag? And what are we doing? And the whole, all of the different makeup styles in terms of contouring and highlight and shadow and all of that comes from stage makeup and is part of drag.
That's what I was going to say. When I was younger, like 30 years ago, in early 80s, whatever, I started becoming familiar with the community and drag and everything. And oh my God, I had so many. I seemed to be the one that found all the gay men, or the gay men came to me because I just knew. They didn't know and I knew, so they were just like, oh, she understands me. And so anyway, they started, I was going to drag shows with them and whatever. And back then it was just, I'm just dressing up as Tina. Oh, remember they used to call it female impersonation.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it, I'm just Tina or Cher or whatever. And like now, in the last couple of years, watching RuPaul's Drag Race, it's become theater times 10. Characters and over the top, geometric shapes and all sorts of.
Well, there are drag queens who have facial hair, who don't have boobs, who don't wear hair. There's no wrong way to do drag. And so during this conversation, I'm thinking to myself, now be careful, because this isn't quote unquote the only drag makeup. This isn't the only way. This is the way Ed does drag. Right?
Yeah.
And so other people have the way that they express themselves, and it doesn't necessarily, it could be a blend of genders, it can be however they identify on that spectrum. So, and however they're deciding to perform. And that's what's so exciting, is the bottom line is they're expressing their most genuine self and a part of themselves, or a part they'd like to explore. Like you mentioned, you'd like to do drag. And so, it's just another version of themselves, or there's your
chilly.
fur.
Let me put
your
on
fur
my
on.
wrap. See, you inspired me today.
Yeah. What does RuPaul say?
We're all born naked and the rest is drag.
That's right.
Yes, right. Okay. I do.
She's got her fur on. She's got her
there.
fishnets on. Meanwhile, I'm wearing drag from the waist up, and I've got sweatpants on and sneakers.
Well, That's okay.
But this is your show,
That's
and
how
you're-
I look at it. Well, I haven't been out of the house in 8 months, so I thought I'd get dolled up for something.
And I love it.
Thank you. I appreciate it because I have had this when you did your original International Housewife or what is that you call-
International Celebrity Housewife.
So, yes. And I loved that because you had a retro feel, and I have a bit of a retro, thing for retro.
Yes, I see that.
You see?
Sparkly glasses.
Oh, I'm caught.
Pan
here.
Am
Pan
purse.
Am
Oh
bag.
my God, I love it.
Okay, my God, I'm failing miserably today, aren't I? But anyway, so I loved that when you used to do that. And then how did you transition your tagline from back then?
Oh, so, well, it was There's Always Time for a Cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
And a big reason why I would go out and to do drag was the fact that I can drink that night. And so, Wednesday through Sunday, I'd be doing drag at Mother's and cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a big part of it. And it was funny when I would get tipsy on the microphone because, you say more things that you wouldn't normally say and you might be a little bit shadier and slurrier or whatever the case may
Get
be.
your snake mouth.
Snake mouth, thank you, as my mother termed. But
I listen.
yeah. But then, people ask me every day to say there's, can you please say there's always time for a cocktail? Sure. When we do cameos or if I'm at an appearance. And it's great. Just because I don't drink anymore doesn't mean other people, can't and shouldn't celebrate. And part of my job at a nightclub is to get everybody to have a good time.
Yeah.
So certainly I have no judgment there.
Spend money at the bar.
Spend money at the bar. And so people would start to say, well, why don't you say there's always time for a mocktail? I hated that because I don't know what, certainly that's fine, but for whatever reason that just didn't resonate. And so there's always time for kindness started.
Right.
And it was because of drag story time.
I love
Drag story
that.
hour, yeah.
Okay, so speaking of performing, I noticed that you are having an event.
Yes, we are.
Say it. What is it again?
It is-
Slaying? See, I can't say anything today, for Christ's sake.
It's December 20th. It's going to be on Zoom and Facebook Live, and it's myself and Ambrosia Salad and Aggie Dune and Darian Lake and Pandora Box.
Oh, the
and,
Rochester Gales.
Yeah, and Delta Work, who is a legendary RuPaul's Drag Race queen. And so we're performing live that day. It's, I think, at 5 o'clock Eastern. And yeah.
Now you have to get a code,
It's just a Zoom. It's a Zoom performance or a
there's
Facebook Live. There's just a code on
a link or whatever.
Yeah, if you go on any of our social media, you can find that. And I think the code is festive. But there's a dial-in number for Zoom, and then you put in your passcode and you just watch the show. And we're going to be live and fun and just accepting tips. Period. There's no actual ticket fee.
I'm accepting tips right now. Venmo at Madge Madigan.
There you go.
No, I always thought that was so interesting that about the, obviously strippers, female strippers back then getting tips, and still now. And then drag shows started getting tips. And I was doing, I tried stand up a while ago, and I'm like, why don't we get tips? Come up and put some dollars.
Right. I don't know.
I wouldn't have gotten them anyway.
Well, maybe.
But now
They might be like, here's $1, please stop. No, here's 10.
I always say that. I would be a stripper making so much money. People would give me money to put my clothes back on.
No,
Cover up, lady.
I don't think so. No, but it's interesting because it was always funny to us to you realize, was it a good performance based on how much money you made on the tips, and that's how the other queens would judge. Oh, she got tipped. Oh, she's 10s and 20s, and every drag queen lies. They're like,
Oh,
I
sure.
made so much. No, you didn't, bitch. You made $5. I
Seriously,
saw
you
it.
got a roll of quarters, girl.
Yeah.
They threw it at you to shut up.
And so now I'm at the point where, like, if I like the song, I do it, and that's it. And then if I'm enjoying it, other people will enjoy it. And I whatever happens with the tips.
Yeah.
It's,
That's good. So, how are you doing? I mentioned at the top of the show how you're managing with COVID, with performances being.
well, fortunately, Mr. Davis is still fully employed and working from home.
Yay!
Yeah.
I have a 9 to 5, but luckily I can do it online. So
Oh, gee, can I ask what you do, or do you not want to?
no, that's fine. I work for Ortho Clinical Diagnostics. We manufacture equipment for laboratories. So I work in the customer and service documentation department.
Oh, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
And I still can't remember all that, but I try. He works at
a computer. That's all.
Yeah.
He's on the phone.
Right.
He's a Time Life operator.
Well, and he's the business of Mr. and Mrs. Davis. So he's got the spreadsheet and how much did you make and what's the tips and put this into the spreadsheet and you can't spend any more on drag. Well, that's...
I don't think I've ever said that. Well, I might have thought it. But.
Yeah,
We got the beauty and the brains.
Yeah. No, but
but you each crossover have each.
You're sweet. I have no. In terms of the business aspect of things, I'm a Pisces, so I just dream, and I think if I buy this wig, we're going to be so successful. Wrong.
I hear you.
So unrealistic dreamer, and I think that this is where we balance as a couple. But in terms of the aspect of working right now. Because we're putting out so much more content, I believe that is why I'm getting more requests for cameo messages. I couldn't think of the word either, cameo messages. But then also doing some online work with the colleges and appearances like that. So, I think if you, in my situation, just being out on social media as much as we have, it's almost like I'm not giving up. And that has been a thread in my life and something my parents taught me. I think it's that Scranton mentality of,
Pennsylvania Dutch.
Yeah, get in there and work. And
that's my mother's from Bethlehem. My whole side of the family's from there, so I know.
So So, and we've got a couple other really fun projects that we're hoping that are dreaming. We've got one where we're being courted and we're auditioning, I guess, in a sense, to be a part of a show that is called So I Married a Drag Queen.
Oh, my God.
Yes. So fingers crossed, positive energy.
There was a look.
Yeah. Mr. Davis will be out and about with me on this show and our children and his ex-wife, Deb. So that would be fun.
Oh, my God.
And there are other drag queens across the country and their husbands. And so that would be fun. And I'm working with hoping to put Imagination Station, which is our story hour, to do a children's show, which would be a mixture of Pee Wee Herman / Mr. Rogers. That's a dream. That's a dream project for us. And again, to provide something that was not available for anyone yet, because it would give parents the opportunity to see that there's a place for their kids to grow and to be themselves. And it also really, back from the beginning of this podcast, the idea that, if everyone can be themselves, and if somebody is a little bit different, to treat them with kindness.
Exactly.
So.
Just a thought I had on that. Yeah, absolutely treating people with kindness. That's like one of my ultimate things. I've often heard just be yourself, And there's some people, how do I put this? They're like, well, I'm just going to be myself, but nobody likes me. I think it's expectations. Like, if you think, I'm just going to be myself and never take a bath and whatever. And
okay.
But no girls will date me. I don't know what's wrong. Well, if you want to totally do that, then don't expect, but there's sometimes you have to just kind of, it depends what you want to do. I mean, don't you think? Am I not making any sense?
I think I'm following you. But when we went down the bathtub lane, I got a little lost. No.
Oh, yes. Apparently I did too. I can't remember what I just said.
No, I think the idea of just be yourself sounds so simple. Oh, just be yourself. It's one of the hardest things to do because we are often worried. I have often been worried about what other people think of me. So I'm trying to give you what you want versus being me.
Right. And I guess the what I had in my head that obviously you can't hear why I said, because I have children and they're 26, 23, and 21 now. And I always was trying to teach them, be yourself, you be you, go for what you want. But I also knew that, when I was in college, like I was a punk kid and I had my, sides of my head shaved and long hair in front, it was the early mid 80s. And I wanted to be, I wanted to work in, be an executive. Well, who's going to hire my ass with a shaved head? You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
You have to decide what you want to do. It's like, if I want to go work in a record store, then freaking shave your head. I'm not trying to put a damper on it or anything. I'm just trying to say what I was trying to teach my kids, that, don't get mad at the world, because you can think what you want and other people think what they want, but they don't always necessarily match.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know what you're saying. And I think it also comes from our generation. Things are changing. People are having less expectations with regard to dress code and
Right.
and to appearances. And there's certainly truth to what you're saying. And some companies will not hire you if you have a tattoo.
Yeah.
A visible tattoo, those types of things. I worked for that company.
Yeah.
And so, but I believe that is in some ways changing. But yes, sometimes you have to look at, the culture or the dynamic of the career you're going into, and you may have to, conform to some of those things. But maybe if you're being yourself, you'll choose not to go down that avenue. And and so I see what you're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God, in my feeble way. Sorry. Okay. So I guess I would just ask you if you have anything else coming up.
Well, you know what I want to say at the end of what we just talked about? Mm-hmm. One of the things that I have learned and that I'm speaking with friends of mine about, actually, Ambrosia Salad, who's...
I love ambrosia salad.
Yeah. Here we are, we're getting into our 50s, and there's always time to continue dreaming. It doesn't matter what age you are, but the fact of the matter is, if you love something, you can make it be a part of your life, whether it's a career or something on the side. And if you do and follow what you love, you can be a success, and those dreams can come true. And it's taken me some time to believe in myself enough to say that that's a possibility. But it's important to say, because, I did do a lot of conforming to fit into other types of jobs over the years. And now the more that I wholeheartedly say, this is who I am. I've been asked in an airplane, or I've been asked, what do you do? And I would say, I'm an entertainer. Or it's sort of like comedy, and then they're like, of course they have more questions. Yeah. And they want, of course, if you ever say comedy, they're like, well, make me laugh. And I want to be like, I'm not on the clock,
Yeah.
But then if I dare say, if I was on RuPaul's Drag Race, I would feel this immediate judgment. And now, I was recently at a doctor's appointment one time, and she said to me, she was like, so what's your career? I said, drag queen. And she was like, no one has ever confidently just came out and said that to me. And I have been I've been a doctor for this many years. And I felt so good. I'm like, I don't give a shit what you think. This is who I am. This is what I do. And guess what? I'm actually making a career out of it. Mm-hmm. And I've had not just family members, parents, other family members, friends, but other peers within the drag community say, you can't make a career out of being a drag queen. That's what other people sometimes do because of their insecurities. They want to tear you down. Follow what you love. My point is, on that long rant, is do what you love, follow what you love, and your dreams can come true, period.
Just along with that, one of my favorite quotes, I don't know if you've ever seen the clip of it, it's Jim Carrey giving a commencement speech, and he's talking about his father. Have you ever seen this? Okay. He's talking about his father, saying that his father always wanted to be a comedian, and he thought his father could have probably been the best comedian there ever was, but his father, did the thing you do back then, worked for IBM and was an accountant and whatever, and he got fired. And then, I don't know, he went and tried something else, but then Jim Carrey summed it up with saying he learned from his father. His father said, you can fail at something you hate. Why not try something you love?
Perfect.
And that's me because, with raising the kids by myself, I had to do what I had to do.
Right.
That didn't involve the pole or a corner, but I thought about it.
Yeah.
But then again, it would have been like, here's $1. Put your clothes back on, honey. But no, I did. I worked jobs that I hated. It was all, doing marketing for people and, people that just talked down to me, treated me like shit, And I just took it because I needed to feed my kids. Mm-hmm. But after my kids left, I was like, okay, you can do whatever the hell you want now. And there was a lot of crying and collapsing and who the hell am I? But I don't know what it was, that Jim Carrey quote that caught me one day that like, why not do my dream? You may not get paid for it at first, but just make it into something. And that's, I went to college for radio and TV, and I always thought I was going to be this fabulous DJ or talk show host or whatever. And fuck it, I'm going for it now.
Yes.
And 55.
Good for you. And I'm inspired by that. I truly am. And I think other people listening are. That whole path, when we think about our careers, sometimes we can look back and say, ugh, I did this and it was not. But each of those things taught us something about what we're doing right now, and it can be useful.
Absolutely,
it can be useful. So, speaking to those of us in our age group, we can still dream, and those things are just those things are building blocks and experiences that can help us to be more successful today. It's fine.
Absolutely, I agree. Yes.
Yes.
I can't add on to that any better. I was going to try to do it. I'm just like, quit while you're behind. So yes, I want to thank you so much. I could just talk to you for hours. I would love to have you on again sometime in the future. We just chat. So as we're wrapping up, anything, I've tried to say this before. Do you have any other projects coming up other that you didn't mention before? Or?
No, the only other thing that I would say, follow us on social media. Mm-hmm. And if you look up Mrs. Kasha Davis, you can certainly see where you can follow and like our things that we post. And again, the last project that I was going to mention that is coming out is a documentary, and it's called Workhorse Queen. And so it's coming soon, is what we're told. And we're excited about that. We laugh because it's been coming soon for a couple of years. But I don't understand the documentary business. And apparently there's a lot of things and filtering that has to be done because of, this old bag. But
don't get that Sybil Shepherd Vaseline on the lens thing going.
Trust me, there's no filter. Some of it I'm like, holy shit. But that's okay. That's
Girl,
okay.
I hear you.
Yeah.
So, well, great. And Mr. Davis, any parting words of wisdom?
Oh gosh, no, I don't. I think I just enjoyed being here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Thank you for joining us. It was just a blast. And yes, look for Mrs. Kasha Davis and Mr. Davis on all of their social media. You can find me on all the social media, Madge Madigan. Fitzy.
Yeah.
You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Another country heard from. Haven't heard from you all day.
I'm just, dealing with technical stuff back here.
Taking a nap back
You guys worry about the show. I'm back here.
Yeah. He was on the can.
I have a can in here.
You taking a big dump back there, Fitzy?
Good for you.
Oh, well, good. As long as you're regular, that's all that counts.
It's good to be regular.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. But I prefer being irregular. Anyway, Fitzy, Rockfox Studios, thank you so much. As always, you can find them at rockfox.com. And again, thank you to my guests. And we will see you again next week. Until then, have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.